I should have known something was wrong the moment I saw Jessica's smile. My daughter-in-law had perfected that particular expression over the years, lips curved upward, teeth showing, but eyes hard as marbles. It was the smile she wore when she was about to do something cruel and wanted to look charitable while doing it. I'd seen it at family gatherings when she'd compliment someone's outfit while simultaneously suggesting they needed a diet. I'd seen it when she'd offer to help with dishes, then spend the entire time loudly reorganizing someone else's kitchen to make it more efficient. But I hadn't seen it directed at my wife in quite some time. "Gerald, Linda, over here," my son Marcus waved from a corner booth at the Riverside Grill, one of those trendy farm-to-table places where a single entree cost more than I used to spend on groceries for a week. Jessica sat beside him, already sipping something with a sprig of rosemary sticking out of it like a tiny tree. Linda squeezed my hand as we approached. At 72, she moved a bit slower these days, her arthritis acting up in the cold, but she'd insisted on coming tonight. "It's Marcus's birthday dinner," she'd said, while getting ready, carefully applying the lipstick she saved for special occasions. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." We'd raised Marcus to be better than this. Better than the man who now barely looked up from his phone as we slid into the booth. Better than someone who'd let his wife run roughshod over his own parents. "You made it," Jessica's voice had that overly bright quality that set my teeth on edge. "We already ordered appetizers, hope you don't mind. The truffle fries here are to die for." "That's fine, dear," Linda said, settling into her seat with a small wince she tried to hide. "Happy birthday, Marcus." "Thanks, Mom." He finally pocketed his phone, leaning over to give her an awkward side hug. 42, getting old, huh? "You're a spring chicken," I said, meaning it. 42 seemed impossibly young when you were staring down 75 yourself. The waiter appeared, rattling off specials that sounded more like abstract art than food. Linda ordered a simple chicken dish, the cheapest entree on the menu, I noticed, even if no one else did. I got the salmon, mid-range, nothing flashy. That's when I heard it. Jessica had leaned close to Marcus, her voice a stage whisper that carried perfectly across our small table. "We're not paying for her." Her eyes cut to Linda, my Linda, who was studying the menu with the reading glasses that hung on a chain around her neck, who'd spent 3 days knitting Marcus a sweater for his birthday because she knew store-bought never felt as special, who'd raised this man from diapers to diploma, never missing a single baseball game, never complaining through lean years when my trucking salary barely stretched to cover necessities. The words hit me like a physical blow. Marcus shifted uncomfortably, not quite agreeing, but not disagreeing either. That might have hurt worse than Jessica's pronouncement. Silence could be its own form of betrayal. I felt Linda stiffen beside me. She'd heard it too. "Did you?" she started, her voice small. "The truffle fries are here," Jessica announced, as if she hadn't just lobbed a grenade into the middle of our family dinner. The appetizers made their rounds. Jessica and Marcus helped themselves generously while I sat there, my appetite completely vanished, watching my wife pretend she hadn't heard what we both clearly heard. Linda took a single fry, nibbling at it with the mechanical precision of someone going through motions. I knew what had prompted this. Last month, Linda had gently suggested that maybe Jessica and Marcus should wait another year before buying their second vacation home. They'd been complaining about money, about how tight things were with private school tuition for the kids and the country club membership and the luxury SUV payments. Linda, practical as always, had simply observed that perhaps they had enough for now. Jessica had smiled that smile. "Well, not all of us are comfortable living so modestly." The dig was clear. We lived in the same 3-bedroom ranch we'd bought 40 years ago. We drove a 10-year-old sedan. We shopped sales and clipped coupons and considered Olive Garden a splurge. But we'd put Marcus through college debt-free. We'd helped with the down payment on their first house. We'd babysat our grandchildren every week for 5 years, saving them thousands in childcare costs. Apparently, none of that bought you a dinner you'd been invited to. The entrees arrived, steam rising from expensive plates. Conversation limped along, Jessica dominated it, talking about their upcoming trip to Aruba, the renovations they were planning, the new designer handbag she'd been eyeing. Marcus occasionally interjected, but mostly scrolled through his phone. Linda picked at her chicken, eating perhaps a quarter of it. "Not hungry, Mom," Marcus finally noticed. "Just a small appetite tonight, sweetheart." She smiled at him, that genuine smile she reserved for her son, even when he didn't deserve it. My blood was boiling. 40 years I'd worked, 40 years of early mornings and late nights, of missing some dinners myself, because I was on the road trying to provide. And now my boy, was going to let his wife humiliate his mother over the price of a chicken in tray. The waiter cleared our plates. "Any dessert tonight?" "Oh, we'll take a look at the menu," Jessica chirped. I made my decision. "Actually," I said, my voice cutting through Jessica's dessert deliberations, "we need to head out. Linda's not feeling well." Linda looked at me, confused, but I squeezed her hand under the table. "Oh, that's too bad," Jessica said, not sounding particularly concerned. "Well, it was lovely seeing you both." "Before we go," I continued, reaching for my wallet, "let me settle up our portion of the bill." "Dad, you don't have to," Marcus started, but I held up my hand. "I insist." The waiter, sensing the shift in atmosphere, quickly returned with the check. I scanned it, did the mental math, and pulled out enough cash to cover Linda's meal, my meal, and a generous tip calculated on our portion alone. Then I stood, helped Linda with her coat, and looked my son directly in the eye for the first time all evening. "Marcus, I want to tell you something your grandfather told me once. He said, 'Gerald, you can measure a man's worth by how he treats the people who can do nothing for him. Your mother and I, we can't do much for you anymore. We're not rich. We can't fund your lifestyle or impress your friends, but we raised you, we loved you, and we showed up when you needed us.'" Jessica's face had gone pale, then flushed red. "I heard what your wife said about not paying for your mother, and I watched you say nothing." I placed my hand on Linda's shoulder. "We taught you better than that, apparently." "That lesson didn't stick." "Dad, Marcus stood now, his phone finally forgotten on the table. "When you were 6, your mother sat up with you for 3 nights straight when you had pneumonia. When you were 16 and wrecked your first car, I took extra shifts for a year to keep our insurance from skyrocketing. When you were 25 and got laid off, we paid your rent for 4 months without you even asking, because that's what family does." Linda was crying now, silent tears tracking down her cheeks, but she stood straight beside me. "We didn't do those things expecting repayment. We did them because we love you, but love is supposed to flow both ways, son, and right now, I'm not feeling much flowing back." The restaurant had gone quiet around us. Other diners pretended not to watch while absolutely watching. "Happy birthday, Marcus." I turned to leave, then paused. "Your mother spent 3 days knitting you that sweater sitting in the bag next to her chair. I'd suggest you think about what that's worth versus whatever Jessica's afraid we're going to cost her." We walked out into the cold February night. Linda held onto my arm, her whole body trembling. "Gerald," she whispered as we reached the car, "did we just lose our son?" I helped her into the passenger seat, my own hands shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. "I don't know, honey, but we weren't going to keep him by letting him treat you like that." We drove home in silence, the streetlights painting shadows across Linda's face. She kept twisting her wedding ring around and around, the way she did when she was thinking hard about something. "Maybe I shouldn't have said anything about the vacation house," she said finally. "You gave honest advice when asked. That's not a crime, and it sure as hell doesn't mean you deserve to be humiliated at a birthday dinner." At home, Linda went straight to bed. I sat in my recliner, too wired to sleep, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. Had I been too harsh? Should I have pulled Marcus aside privately? Would this create an irreparable rift? My phone buzzed, a text from Marcus, "We need to talk, can I come by tomorrow?" I stared at those words for a long time before responding, "Your mother and I will be home all day." The next morning, Marcus showed up alone. He looked like he hadn't slept either, his eyes red-rimmed, his hair uncombed. Through the window, I saw him sitting in his car for 10 full minutes before finally getting out. Linda made coffee, her hands steady despite her nervousness. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd helped Marcus with homework, where we'd celebrated graduations and promotions, where we'd become a family. "I'm sorry," he said, and I heard my son again, not the stranger from last night. "Jessica, she's been different lately, competitive with her friends, obsessed with status. I've been avoiding dealing with it because it's easier than fighting." "And your mother became collateral damage," I said. He nodded, wiping his eyes. "Last night, after you left, we had it out, really had it out. I told her that if she ever disrespects you again, she can find herself a new husband." Linda reached across the table, taking Marcus's hand, because that's who she was, ready to forgive before the apology was even fully formed. "I wore the sweater this morning," he continued. "It's perfect, Mom, like always." We talked for 2 hours, about respect, about boundaries, about what family meant. It wasn't a magic fix, there would be therapy and more hard conversations ahead, but it was a start. As Marcus hugged us goodbye, he whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." I watched him drive away, Linda tucked under my arm. "Think he'll be okay?" she asked. "I think we raised him right," I said. "Sometimes people just need reminding who they really are." She smiled, her real smile this time, and I knew that whatever came next, we'd face it the way we'd faced everything for 50 years, together.